Welcome to third decade supplemental lesson on the other types of retirement accounts outside of the more common IRAs, 401ks, and 403bs. The account types that we'll be addressing in this lesson include 457bs, 401as, thrift savings plans, and pensions. As a brief overview, I want to touch on the high-level explanations of what each of these account types are. On the following slides, I will do a deeper dive on each of them. It's important to mention here that many people don't have access to these types of plans, but it's possible that you do, especially if you work in government, education, or the nonprofit sector. A 401a plan is an employer-sponsored retirement plan that is available to employees of the government, educational institutions, and nonprofit organizations. 457bs are also employer-sponsored retirement plans that are available to state and local government employees and some nonprofits. Thrift savings plans are defined contribution plans that are available to federal government employees and uniformed service members. This account type is much like a 401k, but with simpler investment options. And lastly, pensions are an employee benefit that commits the employer to making regular contributions to a pool of money set aside to fund payments to eligible employees after they retire. Unless specifically outlined as a Roth variant, each of these account types that we're covering is taxed as ordinary income in retirement. We refer to these accounts as traditional. They are still considered tax advantaged because we aren't incurring taxes on the contributions now. However, once the money is taken in retirement, it's taxed as ordinary income. For Roth variants of these accounts, they are tax advantaged in a different way. We pay taxes on that money now so that in retirement, the funds can be taken tax-free. I'll now do a deeper dive on each of these in the following slides, outlining the pros and cons of each, and please note that for the purposes of this video, we are using 2024 numbers. Future years may see an increase in annual contribution limits. 401a plans are employer-sponsored retirement plans available to employees of the government, educational institutions, and nonprofit organizations. Employer contributions are mandatory, but employee contributions may be voluntary. The 2024 contribution limit for this account type is $69,000 or up to 100% of your gross income. Employer contributions would also count towards this limit. It's important to note here that this type of account allows you to contribute to a 457b plan simultaneously, but does not allow you to contribute to a 401k plan. With 401a plans, employers are the ones in control of how the plan works, and they have the freedom to customize it. For example, the employer sets the contribution levels and whether or not they are mandatory for the employee. These contributions can be a set dollar amount or a percentage. The contributions made by the employer become available to the employee to take upon departing the job according to the outlined vesting schedule. For instance, many companies require 5 years of service before being eligible to take 100% of the employer contributions towards the employee's retirement account. Lastly, the employer has control over the available investments. Some advantages of this type of plan are that it offers a high contribution limit and it's tax advantaged. Some downsides of this plan are that the investment choices may be limited and lean towards conservative options. A primary difference between a 401a and 401k plan are that 401ks are used in for-profit businesses. 457b plans are employer-sponsored retirement plans available to employees of state and local government and some nonprofits. The annual limit that can be contributed to this type of account is $23,000 in the year 2024. A really important advantage of having this account type is that you are allowed to contribute to it in addition to a 401k. You could theoretically max out both accounts at $23,000 each and contribute a combined $46,000 plus whatever your employer contributes to your 401k. 457s do not incur penalties on early withdrawals, which can make this account type particularly favorable for those hoping to retire before they're 59 and a half. These accounts are also tax advantaged, offering both traditional and Roth variants. The cons for a 457 would be that an employee match is rare, and where it does exist, it counts against your annual contribution once it's fully vested. These accounts also tend to have higher fees than IRAs and 401ks and have a limited set of investment options. TSPs, or Thrift Savings Plans, are a defined contribution plan available to federal government employees and uniformed service members. TSPs are basically government-run 401k accounts. These are extremely low-fee accounts, which is one of its greatest advantages. The annual contribution limit on these accounts is $23,000 in 2024 and would include TSP contributions and 401k contributions if applicable. Like many account types nowadays, TSPs can also be offered in both traditional and Roth variants. There are 5 main funds available to choose from, as well as an L fund, which stands for Life Cycle. Life Cycle funds are a diversified mix of those main 5 funds and are based off of the year that you plan to retire, shifting from more risk to less risk as you age. The C fund tracks the S&P 500. The F fund mirrors a broad index that covers the entire U.S. bond market. The G fund focuses on short-term bonds whose principal and interest are guaranteed by the U.S. government. The I fund tracks the MSCI EAFE, which is an index that includes companies from Europe, Australasia, and the Far East. And lastly, the S fund mimics a broad index of small-cap and mid-cap U.S. companies not included in the S&P 500. The primary advantages of a thrift savings plan are that these accounts have some of the lowest fees available and often come with generous employer matches. The downside of these plans are that their investment options are quite limited, but for the vast majority of people, the funds that they've built out offer great diversification. Pensions are an employee benefit that commits the employer to making regular contributions to a pool of money set aside to fund payments to eligible employees after they retire. Pensions come in 2 forms: defined benefit and defined contribution. In a defined benefit plan, the employer promises a specified pension payment in retirement, which would be based on an employee's tenure with the company and their history of earnings with that employer. There are times where, if investment returns don't cover this defined benefit, an employer would be on the line for making additional payments into this fund to support the defined benefit. A pro to this type of plan is that you can easily plan your retirement based on a known number ahead of time. The main cons would be that the vesting period on these plans can be quite long, and that in the event of financial difficulties, if the employer is unable to sufficiently fund their pension, the employees may receive less money in retirement. With a defined contribution pension, the employee, employer, or both make regular contributions into an individual account for each employee. The benefits are then based on the amount put into these accounts, plus any investment earnings over the years. One advantage to this type of pension is that it provides flexibility to the employee, such as the ability to move their vested portion over to another employer if they change jobs frequently. And the primary disadvantage of this type of pension is that the income in retirement is not guaranteed. Lastly, we'll take a high-level view of what we can expect from the fees on the various types of retirement accounts that we may use throughout our working careers. As we teach in our core curriculum, being mindful of the fees that we pay can protect our retirement in the long term. There may be times where you could choose to prioritize your contributions to certain accounts over others. For instance, if you have an IRA and a 401k, you may choose to invest only what the employer matches into the 401k and then invest the rest into your Roth IRA in order to maximize your earnings. Take a moment to pause here and view in ascending order what fees are typical for these retirement account types. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and we hope that this lesson was valuable to you as you continue on your financial journey ahead. If you have any feedback or additional questions, feel free to reach out to our team. Have a great day.